Blessed day, beloved brothers and sisters, and so we record part 2 of a man shall leave his mother and father to cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And we did not want to inundate you and just load everything all at once, so we are literally taking it in bite sizes. And so for those who are joining us for the first time on our channel, please welcome to the family, but please do not forget to like, comment where you are watching from, and to subscribe to our channel, as well as share our channel with people that you believe can benefit from such teachings. And please also do not forget to hit the notification bell below, so that you can be able to recognize when we've uploaded new videos. We are so excited, that we started actually getting more and more into details and teachings about, the marriage ministry, because it is what we do. It's what we've been doing for, I believe, about 6 years now. And we've been working with different groups, different couples. We've done workshops, we've done seminars. And so to get to share this with you is really, really such an honor for us. And so we'd love to welcome the singles as well, because this would help the singles to be able to understand how to best prepare for marriage, to understand, what they can expect in marriage, because I believe that Hollywood has done an interesting job in actually giving us false expectations when it comes to marriage. And so because of such false expectations, there's usually so much disappointment when people are married and they realize that marriage is not a Hollywood fairy tale story after all. So we'll be open with you guys. We will keep this one as well tight and a little bit short. But if you have any questions, please put them on the comment below. So my beloved husband, so the question is for today: what are the consequences when married couples fail to leave their extended families to cleave to each other in marriage?
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Manav. So I think we laid the foundation in the first video regarding the first instructions of marriage, that a man shall leave his mother and father in order to be cleaved to his wife. But let's unpack the consequences of not leaving, and there are many, but we'll just touch on a few examples. When a husband and a wife do not leave their families, it makes cleaving impossible. It really makes cleaving impossible, because you cannot walk the road together, because you're constantly being pulled back to the homes from which it is that you came. And let me use a personal example regarding the consequences of not leaving. Part of the journey that led us to get exposed to the biblical portrait of marriage was in our struggle in our own marriage after 7 years, realizing that there were just certain things that were not falling into place. And in my journey, I've reflected back in those first 7 years, and that a huge part of the struggles we were having, a huge part of the pain that we were feeling was, from my part, when I take that responsibility, in not having understood that when, from a biblical perspective, it says that you need to leave, it really means to leave. There are different passages within the Bible that speak about leaving as to depart. Others speak about leaving as to forsake. Others speak about leaving as to release. And all of these are conditions of what it means to have left home physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, in order to be joined to your wife. In those early years, sorry, my love, I remember that part of my struggle was around, my wife getting confused on certain key decisions that needed to be made, and I would constantly be wanting to engage with my mother and my father to check with them if that decision was okay. And it left my wife in complete confusion, but I thought I married you. But I thought you are my husband and we need to make these decisions together. But this guy here did not understand that. And that's part of one of the biggest consequences of not leaving, in that when you haven't left in order to fully take responsibility in your new role, in your new primary role as husband, your decision making still then stays with the patriarch, your father, that you grew up with, rather than you understanding that the decision making now needs to primarily lie with me, because the head is no longer my father, but the head is Christ. I'm not accountable to my father insofar as how I run my marriage. I am accountable to Christ, because the biblical order is that God is the head of Christ, Christ is the head of man, man is the head of his wife within the context of marriage.
Amen.
Yeah.
And such a powerful comments that you mentioned. And if I were to add as well, is the interesting part is that, we've also witnessed a lot of couples making similar mistakes, and it's actually more common than, we'd like to believe, is that usually in this case, is that whenever the husband is always seeing the father as the patriarch, he becomes son to his father, and the head of the marriage becomes his father.
Yeah.
Instead of biblically, Christ makes the man the head of the marriage. Same thing as, bringing it back to the helper role, is that often when we don't understand that when we are married, now the wife is the home builder. The wife is the one who's supposed to play that fulfill that helper role. Instead, when that is misaligned, so it's the most natural thing for the man to deviate to his mother, as seeing the mother as the matriarch. And it can be very confusing, because we've heard other couples say that in my home, when my mother-in-law comes through, it's almost like there's a sense of that she wants things to be done according to her way, whereas it's actually our home, and because it's
rules,
with our
ways
rules,
of doing.
and of course when you go to your parents' house, it's their home, it's their rules. You're going under the authority of somebody else's house, so you are to respect and honor. So the same thing, that same shift needs to take place with the newly married couples, is that even when in-laws are present, they don't get to dictate or believe that they have right of authority over the new bride, because when those boundary lines are crossed, it can be so easy to create conflict. And this also comes from a cultural perspective. Remember, where our past in our culture, and I'm speaking from the African culture, because that's where I come from, right? Within the context of where we come from, is that in the past, we'd all live together. We'd get a farm. We'd have one homestead, and some families still live like that, where when couples get married, they move back with their in-laws. And and they share all responsibility, and the patriarch and matriarch of that family is mother-in-law and father-in-law, and they are the ones with ultimate authority. But however, that is a non-biblical way.
It brings conflict.
It doesn't work, and it cannot work because God did not design it to work. It actually comes against God's order for what a marriage is to be. God's order is that both the husband and the wife need to leave so that they can cleave together and be able to build their new marital home.
Absolutely.
And this is where it becomes very challenging for a lot of couples, because it's that breaking away part that is where a lot of people might feel guilt, might feel shame, might feel a sense of abandonment, or feel like, okay, maybe placing these boundaries is me being a little bit cruel, because our culture unfortunately does not prepare us for this big shift. And
no culture does around the world. Really, no culture does. And as you're speaking, another thing that I'm thinking about practically, that is the consequence of not leaving, is, when husband and wife really haven't left their homes, we've engaged with couples as well, where, either one within the couple, or maybe both, there were some plans that the family was making before these individuals were married. This one was helping the family build a business. So this one was wanting to help the family buy a home and take up a mortgage in their own name in order to provide that family a home. When we've not left, it then even makes transparency regarding our finances impossible. because you've got two people coming together and we're protecting that which, you know, we normally want to do regarding our finances, and it doesn't enable us to cleave to each other. Because coming together in a marriage as husband and wife means that we now primarily build this unit, we build this home. It requires complete transparency between you and I in order to understand what's in our basket, what are we working towards, what it is that we need to build. When our interests are sitting outside of our home, then once again, that's what pulls. And there's conflict that arises, there's misunderstandings that arise. Our loyalty is split because our loyalty is not here primarily. Our loyalty is where our hearts are. The guilt that comes in right, is massive. When you've not left, you also take on the responsibility of, okay, I need to ensure that people at home are fine. I need to ensure that, you know, they are provided for. I need to ensure, and you make yourself surety regarding their well-being, which once again, from a biblical perspective, is in the book of Proverbs, something that we're not supposed to do. We're not supposed to stand surety for anyone because the Lord provides for us.
That's God's role.
Even
for
before
every
we
person,
were born, our parents were able to take care of themselves. But there is this guilt often, and especially when you've come from a household where there was financial struggle as we were growing up, where you feel that to leave your family is to betray them. Not realizing, you know, biblically we are to leave in order to be able to cleave and build this unit. If we do not leave, it makes it absolutely impossible to cleave to each other. If we do not leave, it makes it absolutely impossible to be loyal to each other. If we do not leave, it makes it impossible to be able to build with each other. Let me take it even further. It makes it difficult for the Lord to bless the marriage and the union, because essentially we deal with each other treacherously. There's always deceit. There's always things that we are hiding, because we cannot be transparent with each other. We cannot be open. We cannot actually build that which the Lord has called us to do.
And if I can add, my love, is that also a consequence, as he's speaking, I just remembered of a certain scenario, you know, of just counseling another couple. And, you know, the challenges of also not leaving and the consequences of not leaving is that often you have couples that are always fighting about, oh, this is what my family needs, this is what my family wants, and the other side is, oh, this is what I need to do for my family. And it's almost like, because we're both still building the visions of our previous family's homestead, there's nobody present to build the actual marital home. You know, I've heard wives say that, you know, because my husband is building an entire family home, it means that now I need to take care of this home. I need to be the one ensuring that things run in this house, and I can't really afford it. But and it just creates a whole lot of confusion. And there's something else that I actually wanted to add as well. That is, you know, it's like my mind just went, but there's something so important that I wanted to add. So is there anything you'd love to add whilst I rebridge?
Now, the thought that I was having is that often when we hear the teaching of leaving, really it freaks us out.
It does.
Because it's always opposite to what culture, socialization tells us. However, it is important. It's a command that we need to leave. It does not negate, once again, the responsibility we have to honor our mothers and fathers. We still need to honor. We still need to provide that which we are able to provide. But it's very important that that provision in whatever can be provided for financially is in agreement as a couple. We've actually gone through our needs. What does the household require? What do we have extra? What can we afford in order to jointly be able to allocate to our families? That decision needs to be made from the context and the understanding of taking care of this unit first, and therefore that which is extra is what it is that we can provide, not in accordance to their expectations, but in accordance to our ability.
Oh, and I also wanted to add, my mind is back. Okay, so I also wanted to add that also the conflict is because usually with families tend to have plans for their children. Parents tend to have plans for their children. And usually a lot of, I found, especially consistently as we've counseled couples, is that a lot of men or African husbands, young husbands, already are growing up with so much pressure that
Expectations.
that they will be the ones to save the homestead. They will be the ones to take over their father and do this. Uvusumuzi. And so having to step away from that vision and identity that your parents gave to you, that God did not necessarily give to you, and it's a bit of an inner conflict. And sometimes it can create conflict with even, you know, your family to realize that, but we thought you'd be the one to build the home, and only to realize that God has actually called young husbands to actually build their new marital home. And the reason for this is that when young husbands, you know, do not leave successfully to cleave into their new marital home, what ends up happening is they're always focusing on building the homestead in the vision of their father, their earthly father, and then what happens is that they are not present to build the new vision that God has given them for their new family. And because they are not present, it means that even their sons will also fall into the same generational curse where they will not be free to marry, but also have to pick up from where their fathers left off. So, or did not fulfill. And so we are always trying to fill the gaps for what our parents failed, and there's almost nothing left to focus on the new thing that God is actually calling us to build. Yeah. And it just creates a generational pattern of husbands that are not husbands but are stuck being sons and not being the heads of their families, of their new marital homes. Yeah. Anything else you'd love to add?
Marriage is the primary strategy that the Lord uses in order to raise a human being. And we as husbands, this is how we get to learn primarily what it means to lead. It's in the context of marriage. It's in the context of heading a home. This is where we learn to take responsibility, understanding that it is our primary responsibility to take care of our wife, to take care of our children financially. Okay? It is us who need to carry that weight. It is us that needs to be there to protect. It is us that need to be there to cultivate, to nurture. And we'll expand on these when we speak about the role of headship. But I just wanted to add that because we're in the culture of let's go 50-50. In marriage, there is no 50-50. Yeah. It's 100-100. Yeah. There is 0% of my role that my wife can fulfill, and likewise, there's 0% of her role that I can fulfill. And therefore, I need to step into my role and be faithful with it and do it to the best of my ability regarding what biblically it says. And when we are faithful with little, the Lord really will elevate us and ensure that He can bless us with much, because He can see our faithfulness with a little that we follow.
And I'd also love to add, well done, my love, but I'd also love to add that remember, leaving does not mean that now you don't get to bless your parents. Like if you have anything extra to say, okay, we can allocate extra, and you and your wife come into agreement of, okay, we can afford to buy them a car, or we can afford to make this happen furniture, because now, house, or furniture or whatever, because now at least we established. But the time when it actually becomes a bit of a problem is when your current home and the foundations of the current home are not even built. And now, you know, as we've consulted with some couples where they are paying the bonds of they've bought homes for the extra, for the extended family home, but they don't even own a house for the new marital home. That's where it starts to really tip the balance and cause and can cause a lot of conflict. So we are not saying that if God has blessed you with extra and your pocket is overflowing, that then it doesn't mean that you can allocate that overflow to bless your parents. But it's just especially starting off, because in fact the majority of couples when they're starting out, a lot of them are very broke. It's literally just trying to pay rent, trying to get a bed, and you know, and so when the concept of leaving or the foundations of leaving are not in place, it's so easy to for that to even reflect in the chaos and the mismanagement of our finances.
And so yeah, looking forward to the next one. So
we look forward to the next one. We are very excited. Please don't forget to comment again and subscribe to our channel, and then please share a little bit of your experience. That's what you're comfortable with in having experience with this, and we're going to go into part 3 of leaving, because leaving is like a broad one that we often overlook as the church. So bless you, beloved brothers and sisters. Until we meet again, cheers.